Okay, I'm doing a bunch of videos today because I did tape some a couple of days ago, but I had my headphones in my laptop, so I didn't have audio. So one of the other requests I'm getting through is someone asked about saints. So saints are the elevated spirits of dead people that the Vatican has acknowledged and canonized. So some of them have no historical basis whatsoever, though. Like Saint Expedite arrived from when some nuns found a crate and it said expedite on the side, like send fast, and found the statue of a Roman soldier in there. Some of them were pagan or indigenous spirits, like Saint Brigid of Ireland. Breed was a Irish Celtic goddess or deity, but then they decanonized her. There probably was a Saint Lazarus African cult. It probably did come from Segpata Hevioso, who became Babalue, who had West African Bade, who had West African origins. So they, however, no longer are the same as the original deity, depending on what you are actually in contact with, because another thing is that spirits have spirit friends and entourage around them. So other priests, priestesses, families who venerated these spirits or worked with these saints can pass them on, and also the dead that did work with them then can come through their energy stream and even appear as them. And that doesn't make them bad, because they're, to you, I guess, seemingly not being upfront about who they are, because they work directly with that spirit and they're in their energy stream and they become like that spirit, sort of like how spirits can become Loa and voodoo in a way. And saints are on the level of Mysterios. They are on the level of the Orisha and the Loa. They are messenger spirits, they're communicators, they're facilitators. So we don't really have any difference in elevation and spiritual level, what their level they're at, same as angels. But angels is another topic of what they actually are, so I'm just going to leave that alone for now. So saints are approachable because they are spirits of the dead. A few of them may be more interested in you than other ones, if you are a Catholic, for example, as well as if you practice a faith that the saints come through, whether or not because of the slave trade or through conversions. It's still like a pipeline back to that sea of saints, I guess you could say. And the church actually says that we are all saints, because in the prayer, the communion of saints is actually the body of the church, including the living, makes up what a saint is. But that's getting a little bit more confusing. So I'll just stick to some of the more popularly known and worked with aspects of sainthood. So if you are a certain profession, say you're a fighter, then maybe Saint Blaise would be more interested in you. Also your birth date, what saints are around or on your birth date may give you more info to what makes up your spiritual court, because your spiritual court is made of many spirits and many levels of different spirits and different types of cultural spirits. So yeah, saints can be your guides, or angels, but that doesn't mean that our spirit guides are saints or angels. Mostly they are spirits of the dead who are not your family members, but they can be past life connections or can be assigned to you through spiritual missions. And then when we die, when we're spiritualists and we're free from the cycle of reincarnation, then we can become another person's spirit guide, or if our family then continues to venerate us through ancestral veneration, then perhaps we can become like one of the Loas that we have served in life. For example, someone had a family member who fought in the revolution. He was a military man, and then he became an Ogun for someone's family. And so the dead can step into these masks as well as saints. So you may not actually be working with the actual saint, but all in all, in the end, it doesn't really matter because they're facilitating that energy stream, and they are manifesting, and you're in communication through them. It's just a way through which it happens. So also, if you are Catholic, when you are confirmed in the church, I believe that they do it under a saint. I don't really remember which one mine was. I kind of remember, but I haven't been able to find exactly which one it was. So that might also be relevant to you. Then we have the folk saints. So folk saints are cultural saints because during things like the revolution, or politically, maybe the church didn't agree with them, or maybe they were revolutionaries, etc. Maybe they weren't Catholics and they were indigenous. Then they became folk saints because people still wanted to venerate them, and that's why they have the home altars in the home churches. And so they become known by their works, and then their family or regional veneration, and then that can become larger, and then perhaps even one day, perhaps maybe the church might recognize them by their works. But that does not really important that much to people who work with the folk saints, because they themselves have knowledge of the ways that they have intervened for good in people's lives. The folk saints may have previous cultural knowledge or pre-Catholic spiritual cultural knowledge, or spirits may then have also stepped into that mask, into that manifestation of what that saint is. Also, folk saints aren't necessarily someone who did good in life. They could have been a criminal, and they could have been, say, like a Robin Hood type figure who fought against the establishment and then gave to the poor. Or they might have been like even drug lords and stuff like that, but then they're kind of like the earthbound dead, the anima sola, etc. They're spirits of the dead that they're kind of don't have a lot of option because they're not elevated, so they hung around this world, and then people started, it's dangerous to do if you don't know what you're doing, but people started asking them for favors, and then we'll give them light in form of a candle, which then turned into spiritual light, so the spirits could then benefit and better their situation and progress spiritually through their works and through helping different humans. So such as what I was reading through in a book about some of the Mexican folk saints, for example. So I hope that answers your questions about saints. Many saints, some they give them offerings, honor them on their saint feast dates. They do give food there, but it's more of a community thing. Like they make nice altars, and then other people in the community that maybe work with that saint would then come to your house and see, and maybe bring flowers and see how pretty your altar is, and then go on to the next one. Have a little parade down the street. You've seen like when they hold the saints on like a platform and bring them through the streets or whatever. They might pile food there, but then it's given out to the community. Or you can say, again, the entourage, the spirit of the dead around the spirits that travel with so this we say messengers or emissarios to that saint messenger would then maybe eat that food and convert that energy into spiritual energy, because the saints themselves probably don't have that much need to eat food. Probably, in my opinion, they're more elevated, so they probably more only actually themselves need or work with water and candles for spiritual energy. And you can put money there to them, and then they'll normally tell you how to spend the money, maybe something for their altar like incense, or a lot of times if a saint comes through for you, a good way is to donate to charity. A lot of them do charity for you. They show you mercy, they help you in your life, so then you then would do charity for someone else as a way of continuing their energy. So say you were working with St. Jude, you might want to give a donation to St. Jude Hospital after you worked with them and they came through for you. Another thing that you've seen a lot is that people post on forums or maybe in the newspaper, thank you Saint Isidore for protecting my crops when it hailed, or whatever. Thank you. They don't really get into that much detail, but they do like say thank you Saint so and so usually. And that's because they're giving gratitude back, and then the more we give gratitude and acknowledge the work that they've done in our life, then the more willing they are to come through for us. But also, that's a way of putting their energy and them to get known in the general consciousness, and for other people to know who they are and come through and spiritually guide a community or society or humanity, because where the mind goes, energy goes. So that puts their presence out there. So if you have any other questions about saints, let me know. Obviously, we use saints, their images, for different African spirits because they represent an aspect of them. So, say a saint like Saint Isidore has agricultural motifs, so that would go for an agricultural spirit. Or there might be a saint with a skull, for example, so we would take that for African spirits that have more to do with the dead. Or also, some of the saints, they're known for different things, different maladies, different, like for headaches or depression. I think it's Saint Diphnia. I don't know if I'm saying her name properly. Or for psychism, Saint Lucy, lucidity, sight, clear, light. And I think her feast date's actually around Christmas time too, which is solar solstice as well. So that's how different ones are used. And so usually novena candles. There's usually do the Catholic prayer for 9 days. However, I find most of the novena candles only last maybe like 2 or 3 days. So you might have to buy several of the same type. And your water glass and your prayers. You say your prayers. Normally open with Our Father, Hail Mary, because it sets up the divine polarity of divine female and divine male. And then you would do your novena prayer, and then you would normally cite your prayer request after each session. So there's the guardian angel, also image, usually used for some people use it for the spirit guide, but that's actually more your African, your ruling spirit that rules your head, which is a higher spirit, Mysterio. But so different ones can be used to represent different spirits, but that's more of a folk tradition than actually working with it just through like traditional Catholicism or Christianity. So I hope it gave you some more insight, and I'll be trying to remember the other requests that people gave, and I'll be going through them to be making some more videos.